And the city of Chicago and the Department of Justice, now led by Attorney General Jeff Sessions, are trying to cut a deal that pretty much would take out all of the teeth of the police reform effort that was put in place by President Barack Obama. Now remember, that was in the waning days of his administration. This all took place after the shooting death of Laquan McDonald, where we saw officers literally lie about what took place in that particular shooting. Now, of course, that took place in November 2014. In the report that was released, they said the department engaged in abusive practices, civil rights violations, and cover-ups for decades. Now, there was hope that they would actually have some teeth, but of course, we know that Jeff Sessions, he pretty much says that they want to pull back on these consent decrees. And so the city of Chicago is trying to negotiate a different deal. Well, civil rights groups saying we're not going to have any of that. They filed a lawsuit to ensure that a federal judge is going to be overseeing this particular lawsuit. I want to talk to Kofi Adamale, organizer of Black Lives Matter in Chicago, one of the plaintiffs in the lawsuit. Kofi, how you doing?
Good morning, Roland. I'm well. How about yourself?
First and foremost, a lot of folks were obviously shocked when they heard that the city of Chicago was trying to pull back on this decree. Why did you and others decide to file this lawsuit?
Well, it was highly important, not only to make sure that we had a federal judge and, to make sure that we had something close to the consent decree being enforced, but because even though the department are, they're claiming that they're having all these so-called reforms, we're still getting a lot of counts of police terrorism and violations of civil rights and violations of human rights. Ironically, as we were about to set up the news conference about the lawsuit, I get a call from a gentleman who had literally just been assaulted the night before by the police in Inglewood. So it was imperative that we really try to push forward to some real accountability and transparency, and to make sure that Jeff Sessions and Rahm Emanuel weren't making backdoor deals where the community wouldn't be involved.
And we talk about these backroom deals. I mean, this is Chicago wanting to pull back. Look, police departments never want any federal oversight anywhere in this country. And frankly, it's shameful that Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel would try to pull this crap, even knowing full well that Jeff Sessions does not want the DOJ, frankly, overseeing any police departments. This is pretty much Rahm Emanuel trying to be in bed with the Trump administration.
That's correct. That's correct. I mean, if you really think about it, we haven't seen much coverage in the media about the police terrorism happening across the country. But literally just last month, we had three 15-year-old black boys murdered by police. We see that we get no justice for Tamir Rice, for Tyree King. So children and potentially over 500 people have been murdered by police so far this year. So it makes absolute sense that, Emanuel will be on board with Jeff Sessions when under his administration, over 40 people have been killed by Chicago Police Department.
What do you think is going to happen with this lawsuit? Do you believe that the city is going to fight you guys, or should they align themselves with you and other civil rights organizations?
Oh, we already know we're up for a fight. They already scrambled to do some pushback. Unfortunately, they're trying to pretend like they are already making reforms, and they're trying to pretend like they're making progress. And they really don't want federal oversight on this. Rahm would really like to appoint a so-called independent monitor, so therefore he'll still have control. Listen, we were trying to push a thing called Civilian Police Accountability Council, CPAC, which would essentially allow community control over the police. Because we saw the last iteration of police accountability, IPRA, was defunct. It was not holding police accountable, and it was allowing murderous cops to go back to work. So Rahm immediately tried to take the language of what we were doing and created a thing called COPA, which essentially doesn't have community input and would still allow him to have control over how the police interact with the community. And also the FOP contract is very problematic. So we're hoping that a federal judge can come in and have true oversight and allow community to be at the table, because we're the ones impacted by the police terrorism that happens in our community. So it is imperative that we have a voice at the table.
All right, Kofi, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Go back to our panel here. Again, I mean, this is Chicago not wanting to have any in DOJ oversight. And look, you got an attorney general and a president who wants to protect police at all costs. I mean, this should be tick off all kind of folks in the city of Chicago.
I mean, I read that report. It's just amazing. If you're a black male, you're 14 times more likely to be killed or, by a police officer in the city of Chicago. I mean, to me, that's the kind of thing where you call for a state of emergency. And if you're the mayor, I would think that you would want to figure out a way, how do we get to the root of this problem? And you need some help. You need to make sure that the officers are willing to move forward when they're not.
Absolutely. And it seems to me that until we get to the root of the problem with white police officers being afraid of young black men and more likely to pull the trigger when they confront them than black officers who have the sensitivity and history to understand that there may be factors involved in interaction with black youth that don't necessarily threaten them. So until we get police officers to be aware of the fact that their own fears, not just their prejudices, but their own fears interfere with their ability to police the black community.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen the city of Chicago take a proactive approach to this consent decree, and instead of trying to get out of it, put in more proactive measures instead. So hopefully this discourse that we're having here translates to real opportunity in the future.
Don't hold your breath on that.
A peaceful protest turned deadly. 37-year-old black man was shot and killed by Baton Rouge police. His hands are in the air, and you still get shot by the cops.
Oh my God, please don't tell me he's dead.
We're not gonna let hate define us.
Race is a big part of this.
If truly all lives matter, then all lives need to matter equally.
What we require is action. What we require is accountability. We understand that black lives do matter, and we will keep focused on this issue.
NewsOne Now, every weekday morning at 7 on TV1.